Yeah. Hi. We got field day coming up. Wasn't sure at first how much I was going to talk about that because originally this is just going to be one of two speakers for tonight, and we've had to postpone one of them. So we're going to somehow try and cram a 10-minute talk into 30 minutes. No. I'm counting. So I think I have to go back and forth. Microphone here to hit my slide button. Hang on. What is it? Okay. Little bit of background first. I know there's people here that haven't done, who has not done a CVARC field day before? Let's see a hand. CVARC field day? Yeah, okay, there's a few. Who's never done any field day before? Who never raises your hand at this kind of thing? We got to do a little better. The ARRL's field day has been going on since 1933. There were 4 years during the war it wasn't held. So this is the 88th year that field day is going on. CVARC, even though out here in the West, we're not necessarily, the old established stuff. I'm sure there are plenty of clubs and people out in the Northeast who aren't even aware that we do radio out here. But CVARC has participated in 53 field days before. Last year, I spent a few weeks trying to track down historic information on field day for CVARC. And at the time, the league's computers were all out. So mostly it was contacting other clubs and asking if they had old magazines and things. And found out that the first time we officially did CVARC field day was 1970. So it's our 53rd. We had 2 years that we did it with VCARs up at the Reagan Library. And of course, during the COVID year, we did everything at home. So this is going to be our 50th time that we've gone out at our own setup and done field days. So that's kind of nice. And it's a pretty big percentage of the entire history of the event. CVARC's been a big part of it. I guess, Andy, I'll give you the link and we'll maybe put it somewhere that we can find it to show all the historic scores. I'll try and get the field that shared in a moment there. The way scoring works on field day is, of course, you do a certain number of QSOs and then there are multipliers. The biggest multiplier is if everybody's running a QRP radio, very low power. And that's a 5-time multiplier. And about half the time in the past, that's what CVARC has done. I don't really want to go down that road currently because I love QRP stuff. I do a lot with the QRP radio and SOTA, and we'll even be hearing from Martin pretty soon here. He'll be a future speaker on QRP, but it is not mainstream ham radio. Mainstream ham radio is a 100-watt game. And so that other half of years in CVARC's past have been at the 100-watt, which is a 2-times multiplier. We're not a club that currently emphasizes scoring. And in spite of that, we had so many people operating last year that we got the highest score we ever did with a 2-times multiplier. So just a bit over 9,000 on scene and another 3,500 aggregated. Now, yeah, it's a point I want to make. Every time I will mention something like that, there are people saying, yeah, but you didn't used to get to do aggregated scores, or you didn't do grumble. The rules are different every year. What we have accomplished last year was using the rules from last year. That counts. We can't compare it year to year. The points are not meant for that. But out of 50 years, that was a pretty good performance last year. Here's the point where we can have Stu stretch this out for another 20 minutes. It is not a contest. I want to get that out of the way, and I want to say a few things about it. Might be cute, some won't be. we have a speaker on somewhere? I'm hearing an echo. Okay. Everybody check your hearing aid. Make sure it's not splitting. So if it's not a contest, I've heard people say this. Why does the league put it in the contest calendar? Why do they give points? I mean, it is a contest. Well, no, it is. Yes. Well, I don't care if it's a contest or not, if I'm honest. The points are a very handy way for us to compare our performance year to year with ourselves. So in that regard, I happen to like them. I'm going to bring up a couple of points too, because I hear whispers of things ever since I got my ham license. One of those things was about there was rivalry between this club or bad blood between this club and some other club. You okay there, Stu?
I want to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah. What I'm going to say is if maybe there was once, I don't care. Before my time, before any of the time of most of the people in this room, certainly the clubs don't care. And in fact, those two clubs did field day together in 2004 and 2010. Anybody who's got any notion of there being any kind of rivalry between clubs in this county should just drop it. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody, yay, good.
Thank you.
Honestly, VCARS helps me a lot in having coordinated our club. In turn, I try and help with other clubs with their field. The Ventura County Amateur Radio Club, Jock, is a very new ham who's taken on the same role over there. And it's a monstrous task. And he's happy to take, learn from our experience, learn from the experience of the guys at the Reagan. What we've got here in this county are 3 field day sites that usually make up 3 of the top 4 or 5 in the entire country. And if you think about that, none of them are, that's not competing with each other. That's every one of these organizations is supporting each other. If there's any competition, it's between Ventura County and Connecticut that doesn't notice. Anything to add?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with healthy competition with my friend. Rivalry is a good thing. The only other statement that I want to make is you're absolutely right. A lot of years have passed between the hurt feelings and the disappointment of what happened in the past.
Before my time, and hey, it was before your time.
And, so as far as I'm concerned, there may be a healthy rivalry, but I don't think
It's healthy as long as we're still supporting each other's efforts.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up because recently there was an email going around with other clubs about meeting sites and things, and John Kitchens brought up whether or not this rivalry was still meaningful.
I don't know if you know the whole story.
Yes, yes.
Well, why don't you tell instead of talking?
Yeah. He says, is this going to be a bother for anybody? And part of why he was throwing that out there is for it to have the air get cleared once and for all. So I'm taking a little opportunity to make sure that's done. Thanks. I have a horse in more than one race. I'm a CVARC member. It's a lot of work doing our field day. I love the fact that you guys let me coordinate this whole thing. I'm a member of other clubs, including the other 2 field day clubs in this county. So my primary interest, even before CVARC doing well, is that all 3 do well. And hopefully nobody's got a problem with that. So things that we learned from it, we're going to share with other clubs. So a lot of what those clubs did is how we're building up what we're currently doing now. Such as the basic idea for our antenna array that Bill puts together every year. That's exactly what K6MEP was doing 20 years ago. And kind of where we got that idea in the first place. So. Okay, the organizational bit behind this. Field day is put on officially by the operations director, who's a member of the board of directors. Martin, can you stand up? Martin's actually the boss, not me. Directors in our club don't have to do all the work themselves. They can form a committee, put somebody in charge of that committee and say, go do it. Let me know how it went. So that's what our arrangement is for field day. Works very well. I'm hoping as we do this for another couple of years, as more and more people get involved, we should be approaching a point where I can, pull my finger out of the bucket of water and see how long the hole lasts. That CVARC will have a sort of self-sustaining plan for field days. That's going to be great. Every year we're getting closer and closer to it. But let everybody read it. I don't think Martin himself can actually read it from back there. Martin, if field day runs well, Keith is willing to accept nearly limitless accolades. If it all goes pear-shaped, Martin is the one who appointed a schmuck. Here's our goals for this. Not everybody has the same goals for them. I should say these are my goals. And I think they're good ones, and I don't think anyone has a problem signing on with them. But they're not the same, I know, as everybody's goals, because I've heard people disagree. And that's great. We're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. So I want to try and make sure that we're doing this like a very large general purpose, general interest club. We're not favoring any subgroup in it. But the main idea is that we let any operator in this club who wants to get on the air on field day have a way that they can do it. Whether they own a radio or not, we're going to set up radios and let everybody operate them. Last year in our log, we had over 50 call signs as operators, and I know most people, well, a lot of people didn't bother changing the logging software to include their own call signs. So I know it was over 50. So I definitely want to see that number go up this year too. Our second purpose is to show off what CVARC can do, how big an event we can put on, how quickly we can set up what's virtually a little city out there in Pleasant Valley, how quickly we set it up, operate, and then disappear it. And a lot of people notice that. It impresses people. We want to be able to show that not just to the community, but by the agencies that ARES, ACS works with. A lot of people are watching us. A lot of people around the country are watching us. An example of that, when we were looking at the YouTube channel lately, we found out that this same talk last year and just what we were going to do for field day has had over 700 views on YouTube. Why?
Monetize it.
Yeah, no, somebody is wondering what those CVAR guys are doing on field day. Yeah. I started getting emails last year, Sunday night, from other clubs asking how our field day went. There are a lot of clubs out there that are aware of us.
How many times do we get asked for repeat on a patient number?
Yeah, if you couldn't hear him, if you were operating last year, how many times did you say 21 alpha and they say, could you repeat that? Yeah. Right. It's not just showing what CVARC can do, it's not just showing what areas in ACS can do. It really just sort of shows the type of people that ham radio operators are. You can throw 100 of us together with varying ideas of what we should be doing, and yet, bang, we come up with this big event, it all works, and it's impressive, and then bang, it gets cleaned up and it's put away. The people that own the property are amazed every year at how efficient we are at getting out of there and cleaned up, and they're very appreciative, which I've seen what they charge for that place, so I'm glad they're appreciative. Throughout the year, we have preparation and planning that I usually start the day after field day ends, which is the first time that I contact the people at Sherwood Development Corporation, just to tell them what the date's going to be for the next year and say, gosh, I sure hope we can do that again. Come January, I'll actually get that nailed down with them, but I want to make sure that they know we're coming. We have a lot of preparation that goes into the things that you don't necessarily see ahead of time. Rob arranging the tents, Actually, how many hours have you put just into mast maintenance this year?
Yeah, I'm probably up to almost 40.
So masts, extra military masts were made available to us that turned out to be in
Terrible.
terrible condition. There you go. Yeah, so there's a bunch of people working on a ton of things. Bill, I know this year the antenna layout was a little easier, but last year it was almost a part-time job, I think. Between the constant changes.
Oh, yeah, what is 60 years?
Yeah. Anyway, we've got to set up all of those tents, a CO trailer getting there, which Zach always takes care of. We've got Pedro, who will be taking care of our bistro this year. Now, I know last year it was just a folding table with a coffee pot on it, but this year we're calling it the bistro, and it's going to be a folding table with a coffee pot. We've got to make arrangements for cooking, camping. We'll do even more with organized parking this year, so that when visitors show up, it'll be a little more clear for them. We've got 20 plus radios to get set up and arranged. And not everybody who's going to be a band captain needs to own the radio. We have loaner instruments going out and coax and unimaginable amounts of gear. I think the spreadsheet I have to keep track of that runs probably 20 pages if I were to print it. There's a lot of stuff. We have people taking care of safety. This isn't just the stuff that's on the bonus point safety, which is mostly what I would think of as mechanical safety. Don't have antenna masts fall on your head, that kind of thing. In our case, for 2 years running, we've had some wild heat, and we're not a young group. So we need to have people watching out for each other's safety. Houston, who's a paramedic, is going to be our safety officer this year. But Pedro Morales is going to be keeping the water tanks full. We all need to be bugging each other to be drinking water. That safety is going to be a big part of it. Everybody needs to get together and harangue Zach to drink about double whatever amount he's drinking. There's a huge amount of public relations and publicity and VIP management that goes on before the event even starts. April, wave April. How many people did you invite this year? Yeah. But every single one, it's not a form letter that she's sending out. It's direct contact. We will have a lot of VIPs there this year. Zach also has arranged that the sheriff will be there. The captain of our usual station at East County is going to be there. Captain Sullivan, right? We're gonna have the fire engine again. Yep, Mayor Thousand Oaks. And who will be the captain of that fire engine? Captain Cohen, perhaps?
Nobody wants a fire.
Yeah. Since it's Zach's kid as a captain, he might even let Zach sit in it. Feed all of those people. Mike Fellio's not here tonight to thank for that, but he's already doing the barbecue again this year. Last year, we also did lunch on Saturday, which I think was pretty successful. It's burgers and hot dogs. And we kind of covered that out of the merchandise sales. And Dean is again going to be our computer guru. We've got everything's going to be done in 3FJP again this year. We've had real good luck with the wireless network the last couple of years. And if it does go down for any reason, like Victor's drone, took out the wireless last year. That program saves everything locally, so we can still compile it very easily. It's a massive time saving. So I said merch. Ed, you got a spiel for us?
Just real quick, just like last year, I've got, the forms over there, or we'll print out of what the merch is. To, CVARC.25.ME, check them out and place your orders. I only sent out the email like 2 hours ago, we already got like 3 orders. So, the shirts you're not gonna get your college, you're gonna be uniform.
So it's like Ford. Yeah. Any color you like Ford is Model T. You can have any color you want on black. You can have any color you want on fuchsia. They're all good. There's, the hat is the only little bit different color, but, the shirts are dark blue, navy blue. And, as well as the coat. So there you go. So it's, CVARC.certified.me, and there could be an email if you don't get it. Contact.
Yeah, this year the artwork's a little different because some people felt that representation of Hidden Valley was a little fanciful.
Really did. But there was, didn't you see it?
As we did last year, we had people kind of in charge of some teams, and I want to make that more of a formal issue this year. So that there's a tent team, an antenna and masts team. Those will probably be mostly the same people overlapping because both the antennas and the tents have a tendency to need 10 people for a minute or two. And then the other thing needs 10 people, but you know, I want to make sure we've got 10 or 12 people minimum committed to set up the masts and the tents. And somebody in charge of that Rob and I can go out with and do some practice with the masts so that we don't have to figure it out on field day. So a lot of that kind of planning. We're going to have the Zoom meetings every Wednesday night again too. So that will be a chance to do that kind of nuts and bolts arrangement. The site preparation will be 4 or 5 people to help me out on Thursday night where we go through and fill any gopher holes or rabbit holes or Komodo dragon holes. I don't know what those things are, but shovel them in with rocks if we need to. Last year, the site manager, who takes care of that site with more care and attention than I ever gave my children, he's dedicated to it. He was impressed enough with us after a couple of years of being there that he sent a crew out the day before to fill all the holes and level all the gravel. So that really made the Thursday night job much easier. You know, we didn't have any mustard as thick as your wrist trying to cut like we had a couple of years ago. You remember that? It was a lot better last year, wasn't it? Friday, 11 o'clock, we can start doing the actual setup of our stuff. So the tents should be delivered 12/1 probably. We don't know exactly. We're still looking for one more person with a pickup truck, but again, we'll do those job assignments on the Thursday night meeting. Martin and I will pick somebody to be a radio operations captain. Instead of having band captains that run their own radio and everybody's, you know, on a different page, band captains this year will just be bringing equipment. We'll get to what equipment they need later. They need to be willing to let anybody use their radio. They get first priority at it. If they want to run your radio, you get to run your radio. But if you want to go do something else, somebody else will hopefully be running the radio. That was one thing that happened last year. There was a big surprise for me. I had been telling people for a couple of months, if you just come by anytime, we'll find an open radio for you. That's the kind of club we are. We like to set up a lot and then we do a lot of hanging around. And people would show up and we didn't have open radios. That was a great problem. So we'll have somebody that you can approach. Doesn't have to, that one person may pick several deputies and go in shifts. But there will be somebody on duty that you can go to and say, I'm here to operate, give me a radio. Get it down a little bit. The biggest part of our setup every year is actually the PIO tent in the front, which thankfully April is running again this year, but we need to give her a team of people to help her out. So she can, I don't know, get on the radio. That's a very, very important part of what this club's going to do, though, is that PIO tent. In fact, we dedicate one of the 3 tents just for public information. And to get into the radio operating stages, people have to go through the TIO tent to see the radio operators. So I'll want to get probably half a dozen people signed up to take shifts in there, so that any visitors get jumped on immediately. Nicely. Okay, here's what a band captain needs to bring. If you have 2 setups that you can do with this, great, we could probably take them. We have 19 rigs right now, either assigned already to a band or potentially available. If we get more, we'll probably find bands and antennas for them. But to be a band captain, you need to be able to provide a transceiver, tuner, and a power supply. We will have 120 volts on site. A laptop for logging. We will have some extra laptops. You don't have to own this stuff. You just need to make sure that you're going to be the one responsible for making sure we have it on site, so that the loaner is in your hands and that kind of thing. This year, I'd like everybody to provide at least 1 pair of headphones and a splitter. Because, Rob, how much of the 24 hours did you spend with somebody working with you last year? Yeah, that's a massive part of what this club should be doing. A club of our size and remit should be training people that have never done a contest to be able to sit and learn how to log and then move over into the operator's position. Headphones are great for that. Without a splitter, they're useless. So every station should have a splitter. And at least 1 second. You're only going to need about 50 feet of coax. The club is providing all of the antennas and all of the feed line up to the filters, which are located between the 2 radio tents. So 50 feet ought to cover it. And most importantly, must be willing to allow it to use their gear if they're not using it. As far as what kind of radio to bring, I have a couple of portable radios that I like to use that when I first started, because they were old and cheap, and you don't want to use a good radio for portable. We got a lot of radios around there. And one of the biggest challenges when you have a lot of radios is interference. And cheap radios are much more likely to be interfered with. This really isn't the place to bring the the $100 garage sale radio that you picked up.
I'll find us to stay home.
They're not in the HF game yet, so not yet. But yeah, Shiego's probably not going to be anybody's first choice on what to operate. It's not that I don't like those kinds of radios, because I do, but every tool has its job. Field day is a place to bring your good radio. As far as interference, we were very successful last year, and we only had 1 real case of interference that was enough to call it an actual issue, and we've got a solution for that this year. But I will say, you're operating with 20 other people. The expectation has to be adjusted somewhat too. You're going to be able to detect other signals in your radio. There's going to be some noise. If it keeps you from communicating, that's an interference problem. If it's interference, but you can still communicate, that's an interference annoyance. And I do want to make sure on the day of the event, everybody's aware of the difference, so that we don't run around solving a problem that isn't necessarily a problem. Last year, it worked out great. And I think this year the system's even better. Some filtering upgrades and new filters and things have happened. So I don't expect this to have a problem. Yeah, I mentioned logging. Oh yes, this is important. I've said filters a couple of times. We're going to assign a radio when it's set up to be a band and mode. And that is it. It does not change. If it is set up for 40 meter CW, that is a 40 meter CW radio. 2 reasons. 1, you can only operate 1 operator per band per mode at a time. So you don't need to be able to change them. 2, we've got these filters I keep mentioning. Last year, 2 people seem to have thought, well, let me just see what another band sounds like, because my band seems dead. They didn't necessarily have to transmit. They turned over to another band. They're probably what happened is that their auto tuner went, oh, I better tune. Anyway, we toasted a couple of filters. Last year, we didn't toast any. I don't want us to toast any. I don't like fixing them. So yeah, once we've set this, we'll have a sign over every radio that will say 40 CW. If it's 40 CW, then that's it, period. If you think your band is dead and you want to go try something else where it's open, you'd move over to that other radio. And if it's occupied, you couldn't do that band in mode anyway, because we can only do one at a time. We are expecting to have all modes covered, 80 meters through 6 meters, plus 4 VHF, UHF. So what does that come up to? 22 alpha if we happen to fill that all up. It's not just enough to put radios there, they have to be operating. There used to be some very strange rules on how you came up with your category. And I know that there's always been in the past, CVARC, Vacaville in Northern California, and Potomac Valley Radio Club back east. One year Potomac Valley was a 51 alpha. There aren't that many modes as far as I know. Yes, it's fun having a really big category, but we're operators. But now the way the number is calculated is fantastic. It's how many transmitters you operate all at the same time. Simultaneously transmitted signals. And it's keying up at the beginning of the event and saying CQ field day at the same time. So we could get some extra radios, but if we don't have operators for them, they're not counted. We're not plugging in. And finally, the last, that's redundant, but it's worth restating. I'm going to be doing things trying to get more points. Martin's going to be doing things to try and get us more points. He's looking after the bonus points this year. I'd love to see us get tons and tons of QSOs from as many operators as possible. And that's going to end up being a lot of points. But again, that's not going to be the reason we're there. It's not the priority. It's just one of the goals, right? What's new here, everybody's familiar probably with our antenna system. If anybody has not participated in this before, remember dipoles are very dead off the edge. Beam antennas have null zones, not directly off the side, but very close to it. We have 3 identical towers set up with a 10 through 20, 10, 15, 20 meter beam on the top and a 40 meter and an 80 meter dipole below that. Last year, we had the interference between 40 and 80 on CW, so we're putting a 40-80 trapped dipole with a diplexer and extra filtering on that this year. But it's basically the same setting 3 times. VHF and UHF will be in the City of Thousand Oaks emergency comms trailer. Thank you, Zach. And 6 meters, if we have operators on 6 meters, we can put those antennas basically anywhere we like. I've got a couple of beams. I'm sure we have a lot of beams around if people don't have antennas. I'd like 6 meters to be on beams though, because with beams, we can aim the nulls where we want them. For instance, on the big beams on the big masts, they're not all perpendicular to the line of the antennas. They're all turned off 10, 15 degrees so that their side lobes don't hit each other. So the points goal I have for this year is to just be what we did last year. I had that a few slides back because of the trickiness of sharing screens, and I'm hardly a clever person. I'm going to do all the switching screen sharing at the end. We'll get back to that. I think we're already streamlined a lot from last year, which is fantastic. And if it does turn out to be that way, then we'll just keep doing that again the next year and the year after that. Every year gets to be less and less work for the coordinator. Sooner or later, you won't need these up here. Keep the process going. We have a spreadsheet. We've talked about it every year. I'm going to bring it up again in a few minutes. I'm probably not going to do much adding to it tonight while people are talking to me, and this is an important point. I am a very scatterbrained person. If If you come up tonight and tell me you want to do such and such, I can say, that's great, thank you. I'm not gonna be able to recall who said what by the time I get home. So anything needs to be done, emailing me and we'll cover that. Because then there's a record, and if I forget, you can say, well, I emailed you, you dope. There's some accountability on that. But the spreadsheet has been a very handy way to assign duties. It's not the most organized because we keep modifying it every year and subtracting. So maybe at the end of the year, this year, I'll start rewriting it from afresh, but everybody's seen it and I think you know how it works, right? This is the rough layout, same again as last year. I will go out on Thursday night with marking paint and mark where the tent locations are gonna be. I'm gonna run a big rope out the length of the antenna array with tags on it over which mast and which antenna goes where. I did ask the league about this last year. If I'm going out on Thursday, that's more than 24 hours before the event, right? I'm not setting up any equipment. I'm at site preparation. I can even take the masts and go put them out in the place because that's just storage. The other point is that it actually says 24 hours for preparation, and it doesn't say they have to be in a row. We could go out for 3 8-hour days of prep. Not within the spirit of it, but I will drop off some equipment on Thursday night. I don't want any radio gear dropped off. We don't have anyone staying the night on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, there will be people staying overnight. But if you've been there before, you recognize the layout there. There's the solid line on the right side of that strange shape is actually the road that you pull in on. So the east of the road, we will have one or more motorhomes that kind of define the eating mess area. On that side of the road, north of the motorhomes will be general parking. South of the motorhomes, on that side of the road will be anybody who wants to camp. Try and keep all of that in one area. Just for appearance. And then there's a nice little layout of the Bill's antenna plan there, but the green and blue stripe is where the actual antenna area is. It's big as we are. If you look at an aerial view of this, it's amazing how little of that space we actually do. Again, they're just general idea. The only thing different here, it's a very poor quality photo, but as you pull into the driveway on the right side, the side with the tents, that's where the fire engine is going to park and where VIP visitors will park. But the rest of us would like to park over on the east side of the road. Handicap, where people with mobility issues can park alongside the tents themselves. No, we're not checking for placards. We can tell if it's a little hard for you to move around. If you happen to be like me and you hop out of the car and jump around like a gazelle, I might turn it on to stop. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Shot this from a drone last year. You can't quite make out the row of antennas. But as big as those tents seem, as much space as we seem to be filling up, you can see from the sky, it's not that big. But it worked out well. So we're going to need people to sign up for chairs, pop-up tents, tables. The band captains should each be providing their own table, but over where we have the barbecue and the eating area, we probably need a dozen or more pop-up tents. We put them all up next to each other because if it's hot again, we need that shade. We'll need a dozen or so tables, 25 or 30 chairs, that kind of thing. And usually if people just drop me a note saying, I've got 6, I'll bring those. I'll add it to the total on the spreadsheet and we can see just how we're doing on that. I have about a dozen chairs I can bring, but they're, folding camp chairs and not very comfy for eating at a table, but we'll still have them around. If anybody feels like bringing snacks or drinks or anything to share with everybody, they're going to get eaten, they're going to get used. And throughout the weekend, we need ice. For the last 2 years, ice has been our most precious commodity, so. If we have to send somebody out to buy ice, great, but if you know you're only gonna be coming on Saturday afternoon for 3 hours, let me know that, and let me know if you can bring a bag of ice when you show up. You know, so we have a flow of. That's particularly helpful for the people that are only gonna make one quick visit to the field day site. You're a great candidate for bringing ice. Other things I mentioned are Thursday evening cleanup, fine. All day Friday, we need volunteers there, period. From 11 o'clock on, we need as many warm bodies as we can get. You don't have to be in charge of anything. You can just be present. You probably won't have to work all day long, but we just need bodies. Already mentioned shifts to work in the PIO tent. Sunday, the more people that stick around, the better. It's not a good look if you operate for the whole 24 hours. 11 o'clock on Sunday comes, you spend 15 minutes putting your radio in your car and split. I can't tell anybody not to do that, but it's not a great look. We'd like as many people as possible to really hang out on Sunday and get that place empty. 2 years ago, I was there till 8:30 at night, just getting stuff loaded into my truck. So I think you stayed quite a while with me there. We were bloody exhausted by that time, weren't we? So we want the Sunday afternoon show to be just as impressive as the Friday shows. And then this is the big part of it always, is Monday, when we do our final walk around that whole property and pick up any trace of litter we can have and wait for the porta potties to be picked up. We call it the porta potty party. And there ain't no party like a porta potty party.
What's the situation? Porta potty on there?
Wow. Pagoda. Yeah. And Andy Gumbo. Okay, this last one is important. Everybody look at my email and look at my phone number. I hope you can remember my email. You've probably heard my call sign enough to hate it, and everybody knows the name. It's my name at mycallsign.org. The phone number, take a photo of it, do whatever. Just don't catch me when I'm running around with 3 people talking to me and telling me something important, because I'm just gonna be an idiot and forget it. Writing is always a great way to communicate. Everybody got it? Okay. Text messages sent to that number are pretty good. Yeah, I put it this way, I'd prefer an email over text. It's much easier to search. It's much easier to catalog them. There are times that text messages show up with my service with Verizon. I might get them within seconds. They might show up 3 minutes later. They might show up a day later. It depends on where I am at the moment you send it, I think. If you text me something, that's great. If I reply, that's fantastic. If I don't, take that as a red flag. It's time to try to email instead. Phone calls, good too. You know, especially if I have access to either, if I'm at home or something, I can work with the spreadsheet right there and we could get the update done right away. So the Zoom meetings are already in the CVARC calendar. I don't know if we need, I will make a post for the website to tell everybody a reminder. They're going to be 8 o'clock on every single Wednesday. We've done that for a couple of years and it's kind of casual. We do a little bit of planning and some hanging around. June 4th, the first Wednesday of June at 7 o'clock, anybody who's going to be operating FT8, I would like to be on a Zoom meeting with me. as well as members of Ventura County Amateur Radio Club. And Stu, anybody from VCARS if you think they need it. That we're just going to discuss how you operate FT8 and digital modes in a crowd.
Power.
Yes. Max power and overdrive as many stages as possible. That's really what we're after. So it's very easy to make FT8 behave well in a crowd. There's no mystery to it at all. It just takes a few.
You know, though, it's even easier to make it the most annoying mode at the site. That's why you really use your working in kind of thing.
Yep. So two clubs are already ganging together for this particular talk. We should be done in half an hour. It's pretty simple. And if you show up, you get a link to a wonderful little FT8 guide that you're actually going to really enjoy reading because it has all kinds of other information in it. If you've never understood FT8, show up and take a look at that guide and you get a lot of ideas for how you could actually be using that mode. But yeah, if done wrongly, FT8 is destructive. Well, no, if done wrongly, ham radio is a bad deal. There's nothing special about FT8. We want to be good operators. So that Zoom meeting will be about being a good FT8 operator. Hey, I didn't realize I needed to fill that one in too. I've never used PowerPoint before.
Do you remember what it was gonna say?
No, I think it was going to say that's about it until first Wednesday of June. Any questions about field day? Warren?
So the aggregated scores thing, this is people probably at home, they
Yes.
do class A, class B. They can operate any motor, any band at any time, and then they use their own call, or am I incorrect on any of that, or is that all right?
That is correct. Generally, they're classified as a delta, a 1 delta. The score aggregating is probably going to be a permanent feature of field day. It came about because of COVID 2020 when everybody aggregated their score. It is part of what field day is now. I have heard people say, well, those don't really count for the club. They went with the club. But member of the club operated in the way that they were able to operate. This means every member of the club can operate, including those people that can't necessarily go out in a rocky field in 100-degree heat. You know, that is not a safe environment for every member of our club.
So how do their points get aggregated? Just by reporting to you, reporting to AWL?
No, when they go to the ARRL to fill in their score, which you have to fill out 4 or 5 spaces, it's pretty simple. One of the things you do is pick the club you want to aggregate your scores with from the drop-down list. And details of that will all be sent out. In our case, we're known to the league as Conejo Valley ARC. So, not as CVARC, there's a good dozen CVARCs around the country. Crescenta Valley, there's Coachella, they're just all over the place. Ham radio clubs are not known for creative club naming. I say as somebody who belongs to VCARS and VCART. Okay, I'm gonna take a second here and see if I can get the webpage up. What I compiled last year, all the way back to 1970. Sent an email on it a couple of weeks ago with a link to this. But I can send that again, and when I make an article about the Wednesday night Zooms, I'll include this link again. It's kind of interesting. Yellow highlight were years that we did QRP for the 5-time multiplier. The other years are 2-time multiplier. And I've listed on what years we ended up being the largest in the country. which is a tradition of ours that goes back well into the nineties. And even before that, we were always a very big club on field day. With some pretty good scores. We've had a lot of years with more QSOs than we got last year. But the last time we got that many was last year we had 2,023 QSOs. Which is quite a lot, it's about 100 per radio. Not bad. The last time we did that many, we were actually with Z-Cars up at the Reagan Library. So that was 3 clubs combined to beat that 2,000. That year, the combination club got 2,204. So I'm pretty happy and proud of what we ended up doing last year, since we had no idea going in that we were shooting for score. We just wanted people to get on the radio. And then they did. Go figure. When you look this up, it goes back quite a while. Maybe somebody with an old memory will know. I found no record of 1975 or 1981. I found QST magazines with the relevant information from those years and could not find Conejo Valley in them. Maybe we were operating under another name or with another club, but I don't know what was going on. Of course, if we did operate, that means this wouldn't be our 50th, so I'm not sure. Maybe, as you know, keep it quiet and go after field. I also found nothing for 69 and 68, and at that point decided we probably didn't exist yet. We don't actually know when this club began. We know that in 1970, we were listed as an ARRL full service club. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
To be so, among other things, you have to have been an ARRL affiliate for 2 years. So I can assume we were there as far back as 68, but I don't know if anybody knows. Let me know. Change tabs, but my Zoom menu is in the way.
Right this near the top.
I found the pointer, I just can't get rid of my, oh, I can see it up here. Oh, there's so much delay on the pointer, nobody.
Both have one to take it. That's great.
Yeah, it was just buried behind there's a Zoom menu on the top of my screen. If you haven't seen this before, it's pretty simple. The fields go off on the right is all the different stuff that each radio operator could bring. Last year, we didn't bother filling out all of that. If somebody says I'm bringing a radio and a table and a chair, I can assume they're bringing a table and a chair. I don't need to record it. We have extras if somebody say that. But I'll scroll down this and you can see the kinds of things that we're filling in and the names that are already in. This is kind of our background on the Wednesday night meetings. You see, oh look, nobody signed up on 6 meters yet. Pardon? Yeah. Oh look, all of 80 meters is still open. Notice that Pedro has signed up for 2 radios and 40 meters. Pedro has signed up for 2 radios and 40 meters. It's not that he's planning on hogging 2 modes. He's providing 2 radios for other people to operate. He's kind of a hero for us on field day. He had 2 setups there last year. He's also taken on making sure the water's always full and ready to go, and that all the trash is picked up. That's not a fun job. Not that we're messy people. As we get further down, we start to see different jobs that people are starting to volunteer for. And then a list of things, tables, chairs, pop-ups, and so forth. So that'll be our working thing for all the Wednesday night meetings. And it's fun. Last year, it just slowly got filled out as we went along and then everything fell into place. Any other questions? Boy, I prepared all kinds of answers too. I measure, like memorize state capitals. I did all kinds of stuff. Okay. Back to you, Daphne.
So they know, Tom said, for future requests, I'll talk up CVARC field day here and Hampton. And it's a great job, Keith. Night all, late night here in Ohio. So,